All right, I'm gonna see how quick I can get through this. You want to know my opinion on the Game Awards? You want to know? Okay, let me get real close for you right now. Let me get a little closer, a little closer. Let me take away the windscreen really quickly. That show was dog shit. All right, that show was a utter mess, a complete Hollywood manufactured catastrophe. And I'm saying all of this while I'm sick and just suffering over here. It was one of the most oddly paced shows I've ever seen in my life. And I honestly, the score I gave it is symbolic of how I feel. I felt like it was a 4 out of 10. If it wasn't for some of those new reveals of those games that I was interested in, then it's a 4 out of 10. Now, naturally speaking, Game Awards is something that does not determine what my personal opinion is going to be with the awards section. I'll talk about that later. But first, we're talking about reveals. What I actually gave it a 4 in the first place, right? So we go down, and the stuff I don't care about or I'm not interested in, I'm going to skip right by that. I'm going to wait until I see something cool. That's what I did last year. That's what I'm going to do this year in terms of talking about it. So all this stuff, all these indie projects, I'm sure people are very excited for. Me personally, it does nothing for me. Same with constant sci-fi games all over the place, but there was like 2 or 3 that stood out. Exodus looks dope. It looks like it's a new studio by former BioWare developers, and the gameplay just looks nice for what I've seen. Where you're doing all these crazy rolls, and these aliens are all over the place. It looks like a mixture of Returnal, Mass Effect, and Starfield put together, and that's something that really caters and calls out and appeals to me. Next, God of War Ragnarok DLC, God of War Ragnarok Valhalla, fire. And the best part is, it's gonna be free DLC, and we're getting it in a few days, December 12th. So I'm gonna fire up that Ether beat, that God of War beat, motherfucker, and I'm gonna play the holy hell out of this DLC when it drops. It is once again a roguelike, but I thought it was cool seeing the enemies of the original God of War. It's like the Cyclops, and Kratos can tear them apart again, this time in a more crispier HD result, and I like that a lot. It's going to be the final DLC to conclude Kratos' story. So I'm looking forward to his side before Atreus like ran off to do his own thing. And maybe I'm hoping there's a DLC for Kratos, a DLC for Atreus, and then we lead into the next God of War. Very excited about that. Let's go down. I don't care too much about Hellblade 2. I'm sorry, people. I just think the gameplay is too slow and it does nothing for me. Let's see. No Rest for the Wicked. No. Okay, Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which is Budokai 4, Budokai Tenkaichi 4, looks amazing. I know there was controversy of you not being able to play locally, but man, look, I play my fights online most of the time anyway. I'm gonna beat people's ass with Vegeta, Goku, Super Saiyan God, Super Saiyan. I'm going to pick those characters and I'm going to wipe the floor with people online. I can't wait. Fight me. Fight me. Let's do this shit. I can't wait for this game. That's going to be fire when it comes out. And honestly, like, I'm glad that they've gone back to this sort of 3D arena style with Dragon Ball. I think that's going to be cool. The casting of Frank Stone. Now, the cool thing about this is super massive games, and they've done a lot of cool stuff like Until Dawn. I liked Until Dawn like a lot, and they went and they did the Dark Pictures anthology series. which also has this like fanfare as well, and now they're crossing over with the Dead by Daylight universe. And I saw some of the original Dead by Daylight monsters. They have a lot of intricate lore, a lot of fascinations behind them. I think this was the perfect collaboration to do something like this, and it should be like Grizzly if they take all the lore from the original monsters and implement them into this game. Oh man, as a horror fan, we gonna be eating. I'm definitely gonna be live streaming this for sure when it comes out. Let's go down. Okay, OD. I'm gonna be honest, bruv. OD is Overdose. This is Kojima's new game, and while I am excited for this, I have an issue with it at the same time, and it's part of the show. It's part of the issue with the show. I don't even know if I should get into detail with this. All I'm gonna say for now, before I get into the show, is OD looked to be, as my computer just downloads shit in the background. Fuck you. OD probably is going to be a simple and cool horror premise. I'm sure it is. We saw the leak gameplay. All I can say is the leak gameplay looked way better than a bunch of floating heads with no sort of description whatsoever, no sort of indication of what the trailer is. I don't like when Kojima does this. I'm sorry. I think this time of showing a trailer like this and being as cryptic and nondescript as possible is over. It's tiring. He did this with Metal Gear Solid 5, and we saw Ishmael, and we saw a face on the ground, and clearly it was Big Boss. But it's not Metal Gear Solid Phantom Pain. It's Metal Gear Solid. No, they didn't call it Metal Gear at all. It was no Metal Gear in the name. I keep forgetting about that. We knew it was Metal Gear Solid 5, but he called it the Phantom Pain. And then he had like all these weird bandaged people talking in interviews, playing it up with Jeff Keighley. And I'm just like, what the fuck is this? Like, Death Stranding's trailer was nondescript as well, but at least it was interesting enough. But the final game was not, in my opinion. I'm not the biggest fan of Death Stranding. I'm sorry. Death Stranding 2, will that be a little bit more interesting? I would hope so. I would wish so, you know. But the best trailer reveal that Kojima ever had was Silent Hills. Bar none. It can't be beaten. It can't be topped. That was the best reveal he ever had, ever. And these other reveals are just bad. Like, I'm sorry, OD was a bad reveal and the leak was better. It told me nothing of what the game was going to be other than the fact that they have like these new actors and in this motion scan, this head motion scan, and that's all that happened. I'll talk more about OD later. So skip Final Fantasy Rebirth. I am invested into this game, but I did not watch the trailer because I was warned that there was spoilers afoot, so I decided to avoid it. But that is a highly anticipated game I'm looking forward to. Let's go down. Let's go down. Blade, baby. Marvel's Blade. Now, you guys know I'm a giant, massive comic book nerd. Like a comic book fan, comic book nerd. I'm crazy with it, okay? Blade, I've been wanting a Blade game for the longest time. They've done Blade games before on the PS1, PS2, but they weren't really that great. This is being done by Arcane Leon, and they've mostly made Deathloop and Dishonored. I heard Dishonored was great. I never played it. Deathloop, I know it was on my timeline, but some people said it was very overrated. I just remember the console war going back and forth, people trying to claim Deathloop, and I do remember that being included into the bunch. And now Blade is also a symptom of console warring because there was a comment that was declined on its exclusivity, considering that it's Bethesda and Arcane, and Xbox owns Arcane. And I'm just like, okay, the extreme PlayStation dudes, they need to come up off it. I personally believe that. It's like, look, if a game is going to a rival platform and I really want to play it, guess what I'm going to do? I'm going to find a way to play that game when it comes out. As an owner of a gaming PC, I already feel like I own an Xbox already because Xbox Play Anywhere puts a bunch of fucking games on the PC platform anyway, and the Microsoft Store accommodates this. Therefore, I'm not missing out on anything. I have a PS5, I have a gaming PC. You shouldn't go into a generation with only one console minimum. Otherwise, you are at a severe dissatisfaction with yourself and the games that you're not able to play. I don't know how you slice it any other way. I will be playing Marvel's Blade and I will be playing Marvel's Wolverine, and nothing's gonna stop me because guess what? I'm a gamer. I'm a hybrid console owner or a hybrid platform owner, and I go where the games are. This is common sense. You should have, like, I know these consoles are expensive. I know people tight for money, but my philosophy has always been you should own 2 platforms in every generation. Somehow, some way, find a way. If you're a gamer, 2 consoles minimum entitles you to like at least 80% of everything that's available, because exclusive deals are never going away. I'm sorry. As much as you hate it, as much as you can't stand it, there's going to be something that you want to play on PlayStation. There's going to be something that you might want to play on Xbox. There's going to be something that you might want to play on Nintendo. When the Nintendo Switch 2 comes out, there's going to be something you want to play. It is a common thing. Excuse me, I had to cough. But it is a common thing now where, and like I said, I'm sick, so please, I apologize for any pausing. Uh, it's just crazy over here. It's a common thing to want to play all these things and just go forth with it. And Blade was like, turn that shit up, and it's gonna be a lot of vampiric killing catastrophes in this game that I'm going to be very sated for. I'm going to be very satisfied upon doing this. I can't wait to play it. We will see what happens when it drops. The only thing that sucks is they announced it too early because they said it now just entered development. This is a 2026 game through and through. Alright, as I'm done almost dying over here. Let's see, a lot of these indies just skip. Final Fantasy DLC, I will check it out in the future. Skip. Monster Hunter Wilds. I did like Monster Hunter World. I really did. It was a good game. I feel as though the sequel is going to be a little bit more ambitious, bigger. Is what I'm expecting. And them to utilize that PS5 hardware. Oh man. The only thing is, I would imagine the graphical leap is going to get even more better, more crazier over time. They just showed us a small, tiny vertical slice, but it's Monster Hunter. This game is going to sell a lot, I would imagine, because it's up there with the GOATs like Resident Evil, Street Fighter, and I honestly can't wait. I want to see what they do. Finally, hopefully we have crossplay all over the place, because I know that's one thing that people kind of got on the original for. I think that's it in terms of all I was interested in. Maybe it's more. I'm not interested in that. So, and there's one mech game, or not a mech game, but it was one sci-fi game I was like kind of looking forward to. I think it's The Last Sentinel. The Last Sentinel, and it was a game by Dotnod that kind of looked cool. I'm gonna see if I can find the name for you guys so people can see it on screen. Let me see here. Okay, I found it. The Dotnod game that looked kind of cool was this one, Banishers Ghosts of New Eden, where it's stylistically crazy. I compared it to like a sort of action role-playing game. It's like Jade Empire on roids. Look cool with the combat. Hopefully this game is really awesome, and honestly the trailer, what I saw, I can't really wait for it. I can't wait for it. Same for Last Sentinel, which is also pretty cool looking, but it was a CGI trailer. Like, some of these trailers that were presented were CGI trailers, and it feels like, because we don't have E3 anymore and we don't have these long gameplay presentations, we now have to deal with the fact that some of these games are just now getting announced and they don't have vertical slices to them, and it's not a lot of demo on the Game Awards, and they're pressed for time. And that's one of my main issues with the show itself. I feel as though it is, and it's always been like this, but it's becoming more of a Hollywood product. You see all these actors on stage now who probably don't know fuck all with video games. We saw Al Pacino on stage, and I'm like, dude, you are Scarface. Go home. You're old. You don't know what's going on with gaming. He doesn't care less about gaming, right? And you're getting all these faces because you want to gravitate views and advertisements to your product, and that's one of the most painstaking things I've seen with the Game Awards. And it gets more worse from here. And you see, like, what is it? Fucking Simo Lee, or the guy that plays Shang-Chi, Simo Liu. And he's on stage and he's talking and he's getting a lot of screen time. You see Anthony Mackie, who played Falcon and Falcon and the Winter Soldier. You would expect to see these people at the Oscars over just the Game Awards, but they're treating the Game Awards like the Oscars. And it's like, let's see more reputable faces in the industry. Let's see the people that are more behind the scenes getting that stage time, or talking about the development, or talking about that stuff, as opposed to just shooing those people off the stage for Hollywood. There were criticisms out the ass, out the wazoo, and I remember there was one person on stage, I can't recall the incident, but they were talking about how their team member passed away, their artist passed away, and we're dedicating this game to them. And we're so thankful of all the fans that support it, but we have to talk about the fallen. And you're shooing that guy off stage when he's having a very somber and sad emotional moment just because the teleprompter says wrap it up. But fucking GL Keeley, you have like Kojima on stage for like literally almost 10 minutes, glazing him the fuck up, glazing him like white on rice, glazing him like a honey roasted chicken wing. He gets a grand entrance. You throw in the whole PT door thing. He gets a grand entrance as opposed to someone like Sam Lake, who only gets like 30 seconds to talk about Alan Wake 2. When you glaze him up, when he introduced Alan Wake 2 on your stage for the first time, and now when he is winning awards, you shoo him away. Like, what in the actual hell is going on at this event show? It is a bad event show. No matter what anyone says, it is a terrible event show all across the board. And like, I can't believe I'm going to say this because I don't like this content creator either, but I'm starting to believe that Angry Joe, when he was approaching Jeff Keighley and he was talking about how awards are being neglected, thrown away, thrown in the trash, selections are being taken away that are important, the PC gaming category is non-existent there. I'm starting to believe he is correct with everything he said so far, and we were just oblivious to it. It was fun that Jeff Keighley was making fun of him. I'm not gonna lie about that. I thought that was pretty hilarious, but everything he's talking about was right. They're starting to say like certain things are just so redundant now, but we have the most redundant thing on stage, like talking about, oh, favorite content creator, or this or that, like and best. Oh my god, I would exclude so many awards like best ongoing game. I really don't give a fuck about best ongoing game. I don't. Like, just say best multiplayer or something like that. It's so simple, right? The best multiplayer of the year. Your best fighting game of the year. You had that. That was fine. It's like the show just lost the plot on the gamers, and they're trying to emphasize the plot on the advertisements, which is pathetic. This is why my score of this show and Game Awards is so low. Because I dread watching it each and every single time because all of my fears become realized. The last portion that it's two last portions I want to focus on, and of course it's the winners. So you have Baldur's Gate 3 and Alan Wake 2 sweep. I'm gonna be honest, I only care about one of these, and the only one I care about is Alan Wake 2. I'm sorry, Baldur's Gate fans, I'm not a fan of CRPGs. If you don't like it, I'm sorry, but deal with it. I've seen nothing but like people coming out of the woodwork and saying no, the Game Awards is so important, when it's the same people where whenever PlayStation wins anything is World War III. I always find that shit funny. It's such a hilarious and funny contradiction. It's like, oh man, fuck Sony, fuck that. And then you have something like Baldur's Gate 3 winning something. It's like, oh yay, fuck PlayStation and fuck that. It's like, dude, I feel this is funny because in the next few years, all the people that tend to hate PlayStation, when all of their exclusives start to drip out in, like, I want to say 2025, if they get nominated for anything, you are going to be raging rampant piss and you're going to be banging on your keyboard. And to me, I feel like it's typical because Sony right now is one of the more interesting, I would say, single player developers when they put out like stories, all that other stuff, etc. Like, I'm not sort of discrediting everyone else that makes a single player story, but they're one of the big ones that a lot of people tend to look at as public enemy number one versus like Larian. Larian doesn't get the smoke like this at all. So it's quite funny when their exclusives actually do come out and they win any award. I think people are gonna get mad, and it's just par for the course. In 2020, you got mad, and when they win an award in the future, you're gonna get mad. Therefore, the whole Spider-Man Zero Wars thing. This was like, look, Horizon to me never really won any awards whatsoever, or if they did, it just fell under the radar. And I enjoyed Horizon Zero Dawn. I enjoyed Spider-Man 1, and it didn't win any awards. Let's go to third party. When it comes to Resident Evil 2 Remake, didn't really win anything. Dead Space Remake didn't win anything. And we go to Resident Evil 4 Remake, didn't really win anything whatsoever at this Game Awards show, but that's fine, because guess what? Award or not, I really don't need an award that says it invalidates a game I actually like this year. I feel like 2023 was still a strong lineup of games, and a critic can say otherwise. It's not my personal game of the year. Baldur's Gate 3, it might be your game of the year, but it's not my personal game of the year. And that's okay. What people need to accept is that game of the year is different across the board for like everyone that exists. Even in 2020, my game of the year was Last of Us Part 2. 2020, people were irate, livid, and pissing their pants because that game won game of the year critically. So now PlayStation doesn't win. It's a lot of smoke and fire. It's like, okay, fine. But one thing that is very, very stupid is the discrediting of Spider-Man 2. I think it's impressive for that game to even be nominated in the first place. We had games that weren't nominated that were still good and still never made it into Game of the Year category or any category for that matter. I'm trying to think of an example. Like, I think Liza P did not get anything, and I don't really like Souls games, but I know there were folks who did enjoy that game and it didn't get nominated for anything. And then there was Final Fantasy. I think Final Fantasy 16 was not in the Game of the Year running whatsoever. Folks believe it deserved it, but it was not in the running. It got a couple of nominations here or there, and it won one, I believe, but other than that, it was not selected. And your favorite games at this show, at this award show, will get snubbed or overlooked, but it doesn't invalidate the love of it. So, I had tons of games that I liked that didn't win Game of the Year, and I still readily enjoyed them regardless, and nobody's going to tell me otherwise. Like, me choosing Baldur's Gate over that? Hell no. That's not happening. It's never happening. And it's funny when so many people talk about how, this deserves this and doesn't deserve that. And at the end of the day, Game Awards is just Geoff Keighley's like little rub off, you know what I mean? His little masturbatory ceremony that the same folks say, I'm not gonna watch it. I don't care about what Geoff Keighley says, and they do it anyway. Live stream it. It's just funny. It's just real funny. But I got dragged into watching this And I thought it was hilarious. Again, just rating the show, you rate the show real low, so it doesn't matter. As a quality product or a show, or just judging it as a show. And I'm about to just pass out here. It is not good. It was not good. It was a typical. I thought it was a typical sweep. We all called it that Baldur's Gate would just win because of its popularity, which is true. Zelda. It was like this. Alan, no, not Alan Wake, but Baldur's Gate was first in sweeping. Then it was Alan Wake. So they were sort of like equal in tandem, and then third was Zelda. Zelda was getting some stuff, and everything else was sort of just neglected, in my opinion. Which is not a good award show whatsoever. I still feel like nominations should be a little bit more plentiful. Oh, okay, so Liza P was nominated for best RPG, but it didn't win shit. So that's kind of funny. But yeah, it's not really anything that's worth big hullabaloo. It's just all the typical shit, really. Street Fighter needed that win for best fighting game, though. Dude, at this point, I've been playing Mortal Kombat 1 so much, I hate the meta of that game. I'd rather play Street Fighter where I stand a chance in fighting, as opposed to I just can't experiment with my characters for shit outside of Johnny Cage, man. It's just like that's the only award that I feel on this list is earned, and everything else I could just give one less of a crap about. I'm gonna be honest with you, and the last thing is, like, now it's turned into this big war of Spider-Man versus Baldur's Gate, which is, once again, it's a Ghost of Tsushima and Last of Us situation where both of the games are not even comparable whatsoever. It's comparing apples and ball sacks to each other, where it doesn't make sense. I do think it's funny though when people say, "Oh, Spider-Man 2 is just a giant cutscene." When you're doing shit like this, and dodging and jumping out of the way, and doing webs, and pressing a button and throwing shit at people and all this other stuff, yeah, okay, and it's all player agency in the first place. That is funny to me that people are saying it's a giant cutscene as opposed to, turn-based where there's less, you know movements than Spider-Man 2. It's like I don't understand that. I don't get it. I do feel as though the examples on Twitter is not that great if you're showing the Sandman cutscene versus actual gameplay. You need to show actual gameplay of Spider-Man, and it's not just press square to win. You try to do that in a fight on spectacular mode, you're gonna get bodied. So all that slander is just weird. And like I said, I think this was needed because all the folks saying Spider-Man 2 gameplay was just a cutscene or only Square is utilized in combat is an extremely infactual talking point. We all know though that this is the X Twitter app. Therefore, intellect is in the gutter on this platform, which I thoroughly believe 100%. I don't know why two people bookmarked this, but it's true. Intellect is in the absolute trash for this, and I wish more people would just, understand. But, if there's people that really enjoy Baldur's Gate 3, and it's like, all right, fine. That's totally fine. It's not for me, but if it's for you, then that's cool. But we're not gonna do these infactual talking points. It's just, no, we're not doing it, especially gameplay wise. It's just not happening. Anyway, that's what I think of the show. I think it was a huge dumpster fire. A lot of just the Game Awards isn't for the gamer, and I don't know why the gamer doesn't understand this. This happens every year, and I say it every year. The reactions are funny. It's fun to troll. It's fun to talk shit, but it's not for the people whatsoever. And that's fine. Like, everyone has differing subjective thoughts on how this award show should be coordinated. There are some people that are absolutely fine with it, and I don't get it, but they exist. And then there's some people that are absolutely not fine with it, and then there's the middle ground where what can we do to really improve the show? And there's so many things to say, like, get rid of all the fucking celebs, get rid of, we're going to, now I don't care too much about the content creator scene in terms of the Game Awards. It's like, well, yeah, maybe they do play games a little bit more than the average person. I would prefer them as opposed to celebs, so I'll correct myself there. But just get rid of all the fluff and pacing issues with the show. Like Jeff Keighley just hypes it up every year, and every year it turns into what I expect. It's a crime when I say this, but I think the Summer Game Fest was better than Game Awards. Like, real fucking talk. Because they talked about the games, and the games were being celebrated and shown. And this was just, why is Gonzo the Muppet on stage? You tell me, what the fuck? You can't tell me it's not more out of touch than that. I will see you guys next time. Later.